coaching news breaks yesterday, and Weeksy right in the middle of it. I think he broke both stories. The first one was a bit of a surprise. The second one, not so much. So let's start with the first one. Bruce Cassidy, the longtime coach of the Boston Bruins, who was so unceremoniously let go just 7 days ago now at this point, I believe, after being told, if you're to believe him, that his job was safe at the exit meetings with GM Don Sweeney. Then we find out from Weeksy, maybe it wasn't as safe as he thought, because didn't seem like the players necessarily loved him. Seemed like he was a guy who had maybe worn out his welcome in the locker room in terms of maybe pushing the guys a little bit too hard, squeezing a little too tight, as Rupper likes to say. So he gets the boot, and we knew he wouldn't be out of work long, but I think everyone was even surprised it's like a week.
First one, dude.
Pretty quick turnaround.
Fucking gone.
Because I think everyone thought that Barry Trotz would be the first one. And I think everyone was kind of waiting for Barry to be the guy to decide and be that domino to fall. Okay, after Trotz goes, it'll be like a mad dash for all the other guys, the leftovers, so to speak. Although that's kind of, I don't even want to say that, because these guys
if you're Vegas and what they're saying is true, what happened in Boston, maybe that's what Vegas needs, is a fucking kick in the ass.
True.
You know what I mean? Like this does feel like if they were out on DeBoer and the young guys weren't doing that much, maybe Cassidy is that guy that, like I say, in the NHL, guys can go to different teams and coach for 2-3 years, jumpstart a program for a little bit, and then. But the Vegas needed change, and maybe this is the guy. I mean, Trotz is still the fucking top dog, and Quenneville's still there, man.
Quenneville's still there. I don't know. Like, maybe he takes another year. Maybe
people still shying away? Or do you think he's shying away?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about his name.
Yeah, there hasn't been his name. Like, that's why when Weeksy brought him up last show, didn't even come to mind, because his name hasn't been out there at all. So maybe he will take another year, Nick.
That's not the worst idea. I don't think, like to totally refresh and get mentally right from him. So Trotz, obviously, I think I read that he was the favorite in Philadelphia, and why wouldn't he be? He's everything they probably want in a coach, and he just wasn't so sure about the situation. Yeah. And then they kind of pivoted and went to Torts, who Torts seemed to be all in and really wanted the Philadelphia job, much to the dismay of Rupper. Rupper's talked about it in the past on here. I think you and I saw it as the perfect fit for Torts. We thought we saw a city that would embrace him, and vice versa, kind of that snarky headmaster type of, like, just real, like, old school coach. But Rupper said, like, look, Torts has been with Jackets. He's been with the Rangers. Like, Torts isn't a Flyer. You can't go to the Flyers, Torts. Well, he did it. Well, we think. It hasn't been officially agreed upon yet, but the job has been offered to him, and he's expected to take it. Trot's still up in the air. And as we mentioned, Bruce Cassidy, we just talked about, like, he's going to Vegas. I think it's a great hire for Vegas. I think that's a veteran team there that is going to be right back in the mix once they're all healthy and the season starts. We know they have some goaltender issues, but there'll be some goalies out there depending on how they want to maneuver this and what they want to do. Like Carey Price's name might be in the mix. I'm reading now that Sergei Bobrovsky, that Florida is going to try and move him and move on from him. And now I understand his playoff.
I thought that was going to happen.
His playoff performances haven't exactly been like screaming, "Hey, come get me!" combined with his cap hit and the term.
I don't even think it's the playoffs, Nick. I think he's just a hot and cold goalie. Like, he's just a streaky goalie. It's not like he hasn't played well. Like, he played well in the playoffs for Columbus.
True. That's very
true.
You know
what I mean? Like, it's not like he hasn't done it in the playoffs before. And Panthers coach, when he was on, he told us they fucking hang him out to dry. Like,
Bruno. There's another one where we got to decide what's going on. What's Florida going to do with their head coach? Are they going to extend him? Are they going to let him go and give him another opportunity? Or are they going to try and bring in someone with a little bit more veteran savvy and presence?
Yeah. I mean, as long as the Stars don't get fucking DeBoer, we're good. We are too.
That talk was getting hot and heavy.
What is that? What is that about the GM? He's only got a year left.
So I guess Jim Nill. It's Jim Nill still, right?
Yeah,
That's he's only has a year left on his deal, and I think that's just purely an age thing. I think he's one of the older GMs, so I think it's a situation that he might be looking to retire soon. So I could see any coach being somewhat hesitant to jump right in there because you go in there for 1 year, who knows what could happen if the GM's gone at the end of the year? Like the guy who hired you all of a sudden is gone. Where's your protection?
yeah,
Where's your typically those folks like to work hand in hand. If you're a new GM going into a place, you like to hire your own coach. If you're a veteran coach coming in the situation, sometimes you get to pick who you want to be the GM, and you kind of work hand in hand a little bit. And I could see how that could be problematic. That was the report from Elliot Friedman, I believe, that with Jim Nill with only 1 year left on his deal, that was kind of not scaring away, but kind of giving some tendency to some coaching candidates. But if I'm you, I'm so that's great news to me. Like I don't want the bore. I know like
no,
Roper
that's a
talked about
fucking
him and he's done some great things. He's been to the finals a couple times and he's turned some teams around. But like I look at that and I just look at it's kind of ended
I
badly everywhere he's
and
been.
and like I don't think the Stars need like the Stars have veteran guys too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's more of like if a Trotz came in, getting the Stars to play more like the Islanders did on their playoff run. Like I think the pieces are in place, and especially with Ottinger, another year under his belt, first true playoff run. I think a guy like Trotz fits, but I don't think the Stars are going to get him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know like teams like to flip flop from okay, we just had a players coach like Bones, so maybe we go
Yeah,
with a little bit more of a disciplinarian, a little bit more system oriented, a little bit more fundamentals, hard nosed coach. So DeBoer would make sense in that aspect, but at the same
yeah.
time, like you just mentioned, it's a veteran team with a lot of guys who I don't know if that's what they need. I don't know if they need to be. Maybe it
Dude,
is.
fucking
Maybe it is. I don't know,
Pavelski
but
could fucking player coach at this point, dude, for crying out loud. Like, I'd rather have that than fucking DeBoer. I don't, I've seen him enough. It's just, it doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
I'm with you. I would not be screaming at the rooftops for DeBoer. If he hired, I'd probably just be like, okay, like let's see what happens. Let's go, knowing that
Yeah.
he's probably not going to be there for more than 3 years, right? That's a guy who comes in, tries to win, and then heads out on along his way. At least that's what the track record's been. I mean,